Showtime. And we are live.
See, that's what I'm wondering.
Sunday. We are here. Finally made it to Sunday, and I know y'all been waiting.
Yes.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
Self-suffice, your audio is breaking up right now because you're moving out.
Thank you for being live and getting your water.
Outside.
Thank you for being you.
Self-suffice.
Oh,
self-suffice.
all right,
Our brother self-suffice. Your audio is definitely breaking up. No, it's breaking up.
Damn, I might have to go back inside. I gotta go back in quarantine.
Moved away from your
I'm a self-quarantine.
You don't run from
I'm a self-quarantine.
So again, my people, everybody, thank y'all for getting here. We are getting ready and set. It's been a whole week. A lot has happened. A lot of changes. So this topic and this subject matter that we about to touch on is going to be like as you see, if you're watching the YouTube videos, you are seeing progression through every step. You know what I mean? So this right here, this week, this Sunday is no different. My man Rod's going to explain the topic and we're going to speak about it.
This week, this Sunday. Most definitely. I'm just pulling up to make sure we can see the comments. So listen, make sure that we live. Make sure you leave your comments. We do chop it up and answer to your comments. We show your comments on the screen. Make sure you hit that like button. Okay, that's how it helps the algorithms and helps this show get to a broader audience. So make sure you hit the like button. And last but not least, subscribe and hit the notification button. Okay? Make sure you get these notifications every single time we go live. All right? So those are, those things that we have to take care of every single time we go live. And you will hear it more and more often. But yes, hit the like button, subscribe, share. SoundMinds Sunday is here. Tonight's topic, let's get right into it. It's a topic that pretty much piggybacks off of last week, if I'm not mistaken, right? Last Sunday we talked about what we are facing and what we are seeing with R.I.P. George Floyd and the rest of the civil unrest around this country, right?
Right.
But we're gonna talk about this week is a key factor.
We gotta say Breonna Taylor as well, of course.
Oh, of course, Breonna Taylor. I mean, I said all of them, like it. Because it just the list is way too long, and I've been doing so much history, which is why we're going to get into the Malcolm X video, that this has been going on just for so long that it just goes on for all of us, all of them, and like you say, this, as we see, this is the catalyst for all of it. We, you see the passion, the sick and tired of being sick and tired passion that is coming out from our communities and our people. So what do we do? It's a key point in our solution of what we're talking about tonight. And that is, how do we support each other? How do we support yourself? How do you support our community? It's important to show that, and be about that and move like that. Okay.
The cost of not investing.
There you go.
Right.
Give them a real time. The cost of not investing in yourself and your community.
Right.
Okay? It's the support that you gotta give yourself and your community that to see the change that you want to see, or be the change that you
They say if you try, you could fail, but if you don't try, you guaranteed to lose. We trying to take this from the sports world and from the euphemisms of team building to your actual life in our community, because sometimes people don't make that connection. It's just right there and people don't make the connection.
Right.
If you talking about, oh, I might invest in this thing or this person, the whole time you thinking about that, you're failing yourself, your purpose on this planet, and your people. You're failing moment to moment.
So I want to open up the podcast, with a video that I came across.
Okay.
1963.
Yes, sir. How long this been going on? This ain't new.
Malcolm X.
This ain't last week.
Yeah, last week we did 1966. Now we're in 1963. Okay.
Right.
And this brother is another leader, prophet, another well-respected brother that we all look up to. I'm talking about we all. It's even in the white community, the community, the United States system is now, we look up, we are being taught about Malcolm X.
That's right.
We get taught about Malcolm X. So I want you to hear what Malcolm X said in 1963, okay, on how do we come together. He's speaking about how we come together in these specific times of racism and oppression and things of that nature that we face. And I want to play this video for you, and we're going to set this off. This is only a minute. Only a minute. Check this out.
Should other black men help that particular person who was attacked?
I think you'll find, sir, that there will come a time when black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves. Then the black man will think like a black man, and he will feel for other black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one black man, you are attacking all black men. And this type of black thinking will cause all black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring an end to the brutality inflicted upon black people by white people. And it is the only thing that will bring an end to it. No federal court, state court, or city court will bring an end to it. It's something that the black man has to bring an end to himself.
My brothers.
Dave, I love it.
Let's expound on this, on how we come together. He talked about that type of thinking. Take me there. Talk to me.
So, I mean, it's crazy, right? So when you're talking about the abuse that has happened, right? And when you're talking about the ability to be able to stop that abuse, when you come together and say, well, if you attack one of us, you attack all of us. That's the type of mentality that takes us upper echelons of levels of respect, where we no longer have to sit there and say, well, that one person's being attacked, right? And I'm gonna break down throughout this show, I'm gonna break down the mentality of how it takes to destroy people of color. And there's a strategy to it, and we're gonna break that down, right? But once you support and once you see one person being attacked that reflects you, that's when you say, we're all being affected, we're all being attacked. We need to either defend or attack back. And that's when the mentality changes, that we're not just one for one, but we're all for one. Brand Nubian. You know what I mean? But, when it comes down to it, we all got to be there for all of us at one point in time.
Self-suffice. Talk to me, brother. What did you take away?
It's interesting because when you talk about, the brother was talking about there will be a day when, and it's interesting to know that he's from the future. Think about this for a second. He wasn't talking about himself. I think anybody with 2 cents and a clear, eyes open, listening to that, realize that Malcolm was already there, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is about 40 years ago, over 40 years ago, right? So you're talking about half a century ago now. I hate to put it in perspective. You talk about half a century ago, he was already there. He was talking about having a bigger critical mass, and he was mourning the fact that not enough of us collectively are there yet. But he was there already. So what does that mean? Does that mean that he wasn't there yet? No, obviously. Does that mean that if we keep waiting, we'll get there? No. And that's the point I want to get to. He was saying, I'm already there, but I need to actively tell you that I believe in you. And you need to actively tell your people that you believe in them. And we need to actively challenge each other step by step in a reasonable way. But just because I'm there personally doesn't mean that my whole collective is there yet. Now, when you in protest, when you in any type of situation where things go down, you'll probably see a good proportion of people being cowards, being scared, being lazy, thinking about things when action needs to be taken. And you might see a couple people standing out and doing a thing. We talked about that last week with the LOL lack of leadership. But it's possible to not just wait for those people to show up, but to say, what does it look like if I'm showing up and doing my part in showing up while always keeping the door open for you to show up and you to show up and more people, and we're welcoming their help. I think one of the things about white supremacy is it defines these kind of Django characters, if you've seen the movie, where it's like, okay, the more you show up, that means we can separate you from them more. Right. And it is what Malcolm was trying to do is say, it's not about me being there. What I'm trying to say is, if I can show up in a way where you're not threatened by me, but you're empowered by seeing how I show up and you're showing up more, then we gonna get there. So the cost of me, even though being there, and he's become one of the greatest names in history, right? But the cost of him dying and being a martyr for that, for him, was too great not to continually say, I'm not there because of my person. I'm not there till all of us are there.
Right. Well, speak on it, brother.
I think those are great points, you know, and they encompass and embody what we are looking at today, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys are literally reflecting on what has already been said, but resonates with today. Okay? And he says this in this frame of mind of thinking. We're talking about the cost of not investing in yourself and your people. He was talking about the mentality, the mental thinking of when we get to that point of that we have nothing else but to invest in ourselves and our people, because that is how we get ahead in the system. That is how we stand against the system. That is how we stand for each other and ourselves. That is what we are discussing as far as a conflict today, because we still have not seen that all the way still till today. Right. And that's the problem at hand. Okay? Right. Do we have pockets? We have pockets of people. But are they in the best interest as us as a whole? No, because they are sometimes in playing both sides, just like some of the white people play both sides, and just like he said, they talk out of both sides of their mouth.
Before we go on using that same reference, right? Yes, sir. You seen what David said? Before we go on from the point, those of us who are leaders and empowering our community realize Malcolm wanted to say more in that interview. Yep. But there's only so much you can say verbally without endangering your movement until you have more of a critical mass, right? Right. So for instance, without getting too far, you see that he said there will be a point in time where Black people have an intellectual sovereignty, meaning they can speak and think as a whole on behalf of themselves as a community, right? Now, what he wasn't going into at that time, because this was an even more dangerous time in many ways, was that a lot of Black people was thinking with a white mind. And you might be surprised to know that's still the case right now today, right? A lot of human beings, like, and see, this is what I'm saying. It's hard for me to even say this now, because even now, if I say thinking with a white mind, people are gonna think, well, there's white people and they should think with a white mind, and there's black people. No, whiteness isn't even a real thing to begin with. So we don't even have a critical mass of people understanding if you come from England, Australia, Amsterdam, you're actually not white until this racial construct comes about in like the 1700s, right? In order to justify enslaving people. So when he said, what he was trying to say is there's so many people in this white supremacy mindset, right? But without speaking to that, he's saying we need to think about what is for us and how helping our community is also for us. But if he would have gotten too deep into it, especially at that time, people would have thought, oh, he's threatening white people and white minds. And it's like, what he's talking about is so many of us are operating off of a self-defeating ideology right now, including so-called white people.
Yes.
It's really in all of our best interests to support each other, regardless of the color of the skin, and actually appreciating the diversity of skin color. But people wasn't ready to hear that. Therefore, again, wrapping up the point, Malcolm really got that, like, I'm gonna put this out for y'all. So hopefully in 50 years, we've made some progress that we can continue this. You know what I mean? And if we keep just thinking about ourselves and what we know and not going through the struggle, because it's hard, bro. It's hard, sisters out there as well. It's hard to explain things that are difficult and that are not comfortable to talk about. But if we don't keep going through that struggle, then it doesn't matter how far we progress on our own.
So here's where David in the comments. Shout out to David in the comments.
Yeah, definitely.
I really want to touch on his question, because his question taps into back then in the back then before 1960, you had the 1920 Black Wall Street.
And I was going to touch on that right now. Right. And I think
yeah, go ahead.
So a couple of things, right? And it's funny, before he put that comment up, I was going to touch on that. So a couple of things. And that's the thing, like, so the way Self is talking, part of the problem in regards to what or how we should think. So this is all the warping and the brainwashing of the mind, right? When you hear a man of color, profoundly a black man, speak proper, he's speaking white, or he's speaking, you know what I mean? So it's like if you speaking with an appropriate type of tone or proper English, you're speaking white. If you look in the magazines, it's the same thing with the fat shaming of people, they call it, right? Or the body types of people. When you look in magazines, what a model should look like, this is always the visual of what this should be, the prototype. Once you don't fit that prototype, then you're not that. So you then try your best to try to become that. And throughout history, historically speaking, especially with Black Wall Street, was one of the few times that it happened for people of color, right? For black people to come together and say, no, we're going to create our own. And at the same time, while creating our own, make for our own. Of course, that got, burnt away. They destroyed it. They found out how to take a grand move like this and destroy it. And then ever since then, it's never happened again. But if we look in the communities, right, and this is in no way to be disrespectful to any other culture or any, but anywhere you go, New York City, California, San Francisco, it doesn't matter where you go, there's always a Chinatown. No matter where you go, there's a Chinatown everywhere. There's also always a Little Italy. And there's also always pockets of, no matter where you at, the Jewish people build a community where they just serve their own, right? And the sad part is, and coming from the Lower East Side, we could definitely speak on this, the diversity of people we always loved going to the bodega and seeing. Yeah,
do your research if you don't know.
Yeah, it's one of the most diverse places. And it's not to say, now listen, historically speaking, there were pockets of places where it was like all the Italians, and all the people, the black and the Latinos, and yes, there was wars between Italians and black and the brown, but when, you know, as we started to progress in ways that probably were not imagined, you could go to a bodega right now and see 5 Asian people, 4 Hispanics, 5 blacks, and nobody look at each other like, yo, what are they doing here? Right? So I think the sad part is we always want to include. The inclusion of people is what we would love to see. But then even within ourselves, right? So we spoke about this before. Haitians and Dominicans can't get along with each other. They live across the street from each other. Puerto Ricans and Dominicans can't get along with each other because, you know, culturally we constantly, blacks and Jamaicans, or even people from Africa compared to those black people from the United States, there's always going to be that division, and that's only because of the brainwashing and the warping that has been going on.
And that's crazy because Africa is a continent. Right. All these other places, countries that have these lines, we talking about a continent where they made Africa is basically the root of the civilization. So so white supremacy basically dictated, we got to make all these other countries, regardless if they from the diaspora or not, whether it be Brazil, Capoeira, Cuba, all over the place, the dark-skinned indigenous people, Japanese people, they had to make it so that y'all hated this whole continent and the whole continent felt alienated from everybody else. Because if you really figure out that little band-aid, if you really figure out those stitches, that incision that was made, you realize that everybody is one family. And that's crazy. What's the name of the white lady that does the blue eye and the
I know you talk about.
She just did a she literally just did a video. Not a video just got posted of her. Okay,
and I know it's like Jane. I love that sister. Her name is,
her name is Jane Elliott.
Jane Elliott. There you go. Now this sister, love to her, right? She's a human being. We could skip past a lot of the terms and misunderstandings we have to use when we talking to her. If Malcolm X was having a conversation with a woman like that, including her skin color, her eye color, her hair color, background, he would have been able to speak in a lot more freer terms and less guarded terms.
That's her right there. And this is a most recent video. You see she's older. You know, in this video, this is the more recent video, and she's talking about the mentality of white people.
All whites are racist. Can you expound on that, please?
Any white person who was born, raised, and schooled in the United States of America, if you aren't a racist, you're a miracle. Either that, or you decided to educate yourself, because education in this country is about white is right, brown's all right, black's got to stand back. Yellow's mellow, but whites, we educate in a way that says that white males have done all the adventures, have made all the adventures, have done all the discovering, have made everything that is good and has been accomplished according to social studies, which is actually anti-social studies, by white males. It's a lie. But we do that in order to maintain the myth of white superiority. The myth of race has to be maintained at all costs in this country, because if white people have to give up the color of their skin as being something that makes them perfect, what do they have left? If we start teaching the truth about history, if we start teaching about Nile Valley contributions to civilization, it will totally change the way we conduct ourselves in the classroom. It will have to. Columbus didn't discover America. You can't discover a place where people are already living, but we celebrate that every October. It's a lie. We need to get over. We need to stop telling the myths and start telling the truth.
So when you tell people,
oh man, that right there is powerful within itself, right? But I want to just flash forward to
Jane Elliott.
Her knowledge is now being picked up by the younger crowd.
Okay.
This is a younger white girl. What does she say right here?
I'm about to piss every white person off on this app right now. Oh shit, here we go. I just saw a TikTok that said, what if white people didn't exist? And then I remembered We aren't supposed to exist. Being white is a genetic mutation. We don't exist naturally. White people literally come from when Pangea was a thing, and then we split up into different continents, and then people moved further away from the equator and bred lighter and lighter skinned people and even albinos until white people were created. So people that are white have the audacity to be like, we're the Aryan race, we're the supreme race. Baby.
There you go.
Yeah. So, and with that being said, which is crazy, right? When you listen to Jane Elliott and you listen to the young lady, I think, you know, for the sake of the topic, I think for the most part, what we need to understand is the power of us, right? And people of color and Caucasians as well. Like if we came together, if we could come together, that'd be a beautiful thing, right? But the truth of the matter is a lot of what happens to us in regards to where we fail is the lack of support, right? Because we don't fully believe in ourselves to kind of support each other until we find benefit. And truth is, like, one of the things that I had to you know, note down was one of the most important things is genuine support from loved ones without feeling like there's a personal benefit. So something as small as we live in the digital area, digital era. We live in the place where social media takes over, and whenever like somebody drops like a track or somebody drops art or somebody drops something that they're doing passionately, people that you know for years will not show you the love that they'll show to somebody that they don't know. Like if Kanye album dropped right now, there's people lining up to try to get that. But the person that you grew up with or the person that you seen grow up and seen their struggles, right, they will sit there and be like, yeah, I'll probably support you later on. The lack of support,
That's
and this
crazy
is where
to me.
And you know what it is that kind of to answer the question of the topic as well. How it affects us is emotionally, we start to kind of doubt ourselves. There's self-doubt within our own people. There's lack of production within our own people, because then it's like, yo, why am I going to put this out there anyway? Nobody's supporting that. So those who really push forward, I salute y'all because, I salute us, because this is kind of like when you start to see the lack of support, it's just kind of like, damn, I'm really on an island by myself. And for that mentality to kind of like ooze in to what it is that you're passionate about is probably one of the most, and I don't want to sound sappy, but it's probably one of the most loneliest feelings, because you're sitting there like, damn, I'm doing this by myself right now.
It sounds
so
like,
I don't know.
It sounds like what you're saying is a lack of something. In a question that I actually have, there's a question. It's, what are we fighting against to achieve the economic and societal success of our communities? For example, lack of knowledge of our history, like knowing to go watch a video like we just watched with Malcolm X in 1963. You know, to how about the
Well, I think that's it, brother, because
or we talk about this, the whitewashed black people. We're fighting against the whitewashed black people, or you were fighting against white supremacy. So what are we there's a lot of problems that we're fighting against.
Over 50 years ago, Malcolm was talking about all three of those things in a couple sentences. And he was talking about He was talking about white supremacy because he was saying we need to have black mental sovereignty, meaning folks who are not considering themselves white or included in white spaces being able to think for themselves and not think.
I mean, that's just having knowing your birthright. Your sovereignty is knowing your birthrights, your right of the land, your rights of everything, your natural
fundamental
rights.
Human right, natural. And let's give a crazy example. I'm gonna give a crazy example. Say you see a green person and a blue person, right? The green person come over pimp backwards backhand slaps the blue person, right? The blue person mentally is such a green person that he goes, yeah, hit him again. He's hitting you. You're not going to protect yourself? And you egging him on and you're happy that you're getting beat up? So that's what white supremacy is. And the problem is that when we use the term white, people a lot of times get caught up on that as a color. It's not necessarily a color, it's an ideology. But that's what he was talking about. Like you said, one, he was talking about white supremacy. You as a person of color trying to put forth someone else's betterment before your own, even when they're getting their betterment from your destruction. Number two, you also said thinking for ourselves, right? Having that sovereignty. He talked about that too, because that was his main part, right? But you also talked about knowing our history, right? Well, if you know history, there's brothers like Malcolm and even probably thousands of years before our ancestors said, man, know thyself. And they also said, you Greeks are but babes. In other words, African people were saying, we already have the science and technology and cosmology of the universe, right? Probably going back millions of years before European scientists could even fathom. But they're not going to accept that. They got to figure out everything for themselves and try to disprove people. So they're like babies in that
fear.
sense.
With fear. They
With
used fear. Just like shout out to David once again hitting us with the perfect comment right at the right time.
He's jamming out here.
He's literally tapped into the conversation right now.
Right.
That's what I love about being live. You know, it's the fear which creates the whitewashed black people. We've all been in a space of being whitewashed. I'm not saying we are. I say that very broadly because we got our black power people out there. They gonna go crazy on me.
I think people could follow the flow, and really the bottom line of your question is Malcolm was saying all those things, and the way I would phrase it is that power over our mental sovereignty. We sound minds, you know what I mean? So we like to say sound mind, sound body. That's not just, they say the body is a temple. Like if you don't see it as such, you could have somebody desecrate a temple, you know what I'm saying? So what that's saying is not just your physical body, but the physical world you see based on the lens that you have. There's things around you that you're not even sensitized to because of your mindset. And when you change your mindset, you get sensitized to certain things and desensitized to other things. So like what Jane Elliott is saying, right? And what the young white girl was just saying that I love, she was cracking me up, right? Like she can say things and we can laugh with her, partially because she's a white girl, it's safe to laugh, right? If she was a black girl, it might be considered more threatening to some people. If she was a black man or a black trans man, you know what I mean? Like we could go down the line on things that we wouldn't want to laugh with. We take the definition. What you spoke about is really algorithms. Like I'm talking about what Light said right now. Light said, you know, we see people not responding to us and then we don't want to put out as much and then we put out less. Well, the algorithms are fueling that narrative, right? So if algorithms see all these people supporting XYZ big artists, then they think that we all do. They proxy vote for us, but we didn't even choose that, right? And then when we don't support our own people in the midst of you supporting XYZ artists, the algorithms then say, okay, support him less. Send his posts out less to his own people, which means we're believing our own people ain't supporting us. The algorithms are showing it less, and our people aren't supporting us or realizing how important it is with the algorithms. If we come back to Malcolm, to Jane Elliott, to Sound Minds, to the white girl this got us laughing, right? We can change the narrative and redefine what that means for us. That means I need to reach out to my people more. That means these algorithms are separating me from my people more. That means other people don't think that I'm believing in them and they're not supporting me. That means what Light encouraged us to make the topic of this call, the cost of not investing in yourself and your people. That means people don't even know the cost. And if we tell them the cost, they'll realize that like you put or that 99-cent MP3 you bought changes a lot for me. But I understand that you couldn't know that with these algorithms. And most importantly, with the mindset that we have that algorithm fuels. We are fighting to change our mindset of what these things mean.
I want to piggyback on that. I want to piggyback on that just to add to the fact that there's people out there, even black people out there, would make channels to only, what do you say, repost celebrities live streams. They won't find a live stream like this that's getting 5 to 10 views, 100 views, things of that nature. But we kicking some dope knowledge. Right. They won't find this one and
just because we only got 1 million views this week.
We ain't get 1 million views this week, so they like we ain't gonna repost it. Things of that nature. Whatever their standards that they live to, and that's the thing. Being the mentality of thinking that you have a certain person needs to be somebody or be a certain person that you need to actually support. I don't. My name does not need to be on the Billboard chart. My name does not.
Can we talk about that for a second?
But guess what? Everything that we've talked about on this podcast should be talked on mainstream. But
what are some of the numbers we talking about?
Because I'm talking about 100. I'm talking about from anywhere from 100 to 1,000 people
would make a difference.
Would make that much of a difference.
Now here's my thing, right?
That's easy.
We're gonna have to go live for this one. We're going IG live for this one. Wu-Tang Clan.
Ain't nothing.
Ray said, "My seed marry his seed, run with his seed." That's how we keep Wu-Tang money all up in the family, right?
In the family.
Here's the problem. If Rashaman is a drummer, and I know he's nasty with his drums, and I grew up with him, and I know Self-Suffice plays the piano, and I know that somebody around that we grew up with around the same neighborhood plays the guitar, and I know that I could write songs, and I know that somebody who could sing. We come together as a band. Only when we are all on the same mission without needing our personal agendas fulfilled and our own greed of hunger fed can we survive together in unison. Because truth of the matter is, when I know that, and I said this before, if I know my man got the Ale Bakery and he is one of the best bakers that I know, or even if he's not, or for love and support, right? Genuine support, I should be able to say, yo, them last cookies you made, I wasn't really feeling those. But I'm going to support your bakery. You know what I mean? And I'm going to support you. But we will go outside of our own neighborhood or outside of our own loved ones that we grew up with and go and find other people to do other things that we know people that can do it. And just because of the fact that we feel like, and then there's the whole mentality of business is business and, friendship is friendship. That's dope. But my thing is, if that mentality is always the first thing that you're leading with, then that language should be universal and that feeling should be reciprocal. So, for instance, even if I knew that Rashaman playing the drums is nasty, but I'm like, damn, the way you play your drums it doesn't fit my band, then I'm going to let you know about other bands that need a drummer, right, and lead you to that path. If you're making money off of whatever you're doing and I'm doing the exact same thing, let's do it together. It's been done by No Limit. It's been done by Wu-Tang. It's been done by the Asian American Society, Hieroglyphics. There have been people that have lived together, boot camp, that came up together, right? And I'm not only talking about on the hip hop scene. I'm talking about, there are actors. There are people from Boston, right? What are their names? The Batman. What is his name? The one that played Batman.
No, I'm not sure.
Either way, that whole crew, there was a whole crew of them that came up together, are actors and now make movies, and they're acting in their own movies. There are comedians that do the same thing. When you look at the Richard Pryors and the Jerry Lewises, they had the Rat Pack. They all fed each other. They all ate off of the same table and plate. The problem with a lot of us is we're greedy. And sometimes the greed ain't even about financial gain. Sometimes the greed is about the fear of somebody else outshining us, or in a sense, doing more or getting more attention than we would if we did it by ourselves. Imagine the empowerment or the power that if we all came in together to kind of feed off the same table. I always said, whoever is sitting at your table should be able to bring something. It's just like a potluck. If you have the illest rice that I've ever tasted, and somebody has the illest chicken, let's come together, let's eat, let's break bread together. Part of the problem is we're always constantly trying to figure out how I could outshine or outgain the next person. So that greed, that internal selfishness is what kills a lot of our movements. A lot of our movements don't go nowhere and they don't move just based off of the fact that we don't have the people that we know we could trust, or people that should be able to trust us, helping them because we're busy trying to help somebody else just to gain a little notoriety somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So I say that to say, when you look at the Wu-Tangs and then even with the Wu-Tang situation, they were eating, but there was one dude who was really feasting. If you look at the documentaries and all that, and then to see that, it's kind of like sad because it's like, damn, granted, they all made it. They were all talented, all signed off in different places. But if we come together as a brotherhood, SoundMinds is not to pat ourselves in the back, but SoundMinds is that. SoundMinds has been a creation of collective artists doing different things. And I don't care if Self-Suffice is going to have 75 cents more than he would make more than I would. I just want my brother to eat. And if we can eat together, then let's share off of that dollar. If we can get it where it's 50-50, let's do that, right? So I say that to say my challenge, as I like to challenge all of our listeners, is try to eat together. Stop worrying about you outshining or being outshined or constantly trying to be that one in the limelight. Stop that, because as you stop that, you'll notice that people start to build with you together. I guarantee you, Rome, no other great empires were ever formulated by one person. It took everybody to kind of come together and give in so that they could create theirs and say, this is our fortress right here. This is where us, black and brown, need to come together and say, we need to create our fortress. We need to create our empires.
That that was levels. That was levels of what you just spoke, right?
That's it.
And I really want to say a lot though of the actions that have already been taken and are being taken right now are they need to be leveled up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
On our behalf. Like I'm
let's talk about that for a second.
Let's just be honest.
Like said, when you could give constructive criticism, that's when you're engaged. When you're so out of touch with your people that the first time you criticize, it is a problem because you already out of touch with me. So how you giving me criticism? But we do this on a regular. We support people on a regular. So let's give some constructive criticism. Let's come up with some examples that we see right now that it's like, that's good, but it could be going wrong or it could be going a little bit better.
And I mean, and that really brings me into the next question. The next question is a big question that's gonna. I mean, we've been running for now, going on 45 minutes, and you know, hit that. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe, and make sure you subscribe right now because these are conversations that really build communities. I'm gonna tell you that right now. The question is, what will it look like? All right, this is theorizing. I want your deep theory on what we speaking about. What will it look like when we all support our own? When we all support. Now, let me tie in the fact that what you just spoke about in doing so, but what needs to be upgraded as far as when a person do choose to support their own, we get scammed.
I got 3 examples already.
We get the quality of work just ain't up to par. They take shortcuts, things of that nature. So we got examples of these things happening all over the internet. And we have personal examples. Like, for example, I like to go support, restaurants, black-owned restaurants. You know what I mean? But
Go ahead.
do I get the same quality customer service that I get when I go to a white restaurant, or let's say just a more higher established restaurant? No, I don't. And that shit pisses me off, because at the same time, like, I'm coming in with that higher quality
Expectation.
Expectation.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm a high
You want to
quality
talk about them.
expectation, and
You
I'm a
want to
high
spread the
quality
word.
customer. I'm coming in
You
being
want to be
polite.
an evangelist. You want to go in there, have an experience, go out and tell everybody, go here and get this.
Thank
And it's like,
you.
help me, help
Thank
you.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
I hate leaving disappointed. And I have left disappointed. I mean, I've had trouble online. You know what I'm saying? Like, even recently, just buying sneakers that was black owned. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, they sent me the wrong size. I'm like, give me the right size. I sent them back, and they said they don't got the size that I'm looking for. And I'm like, well, just send me my money back. But they only sent me back half my money. And now the website is nowhere to be found. And you know what I'm saying? Now they gone. So these type of situations.
And you both Rasham, and just for those, I don't know what part people come and go on the podcast, if you know what I mean, we go 90 minutes. Both Rasham and like both touched on the fact that regardless of your quality right now, these two brothers and myself included are fans of supporting people even when it's far from perfect. Because we understand that, and other people have been mentioned, I'm not going back to saying names, but we understand that the celebrities with the perfect quality and everything were supported when they were failing, or stood on the shoulders of other people. So when you walk in that more white establishment, or that more experienced, credentialed establishment, they had the means and funds and support to go through those mistakes and get through. We have to support people who are struggling with those issues. So we're not hating on that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
this is that.
Constructive criticism, because at the end of the day, when we walk into an establishment, they better serve us right, because at the end of the day, we got right-sized customers that we can file and complain and blah, 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 do what the white people do. That's what we learn. You know what I'm saying? Like, but at the same time, when we walk into your establishment, we don't want to do that type of stuff, but at least give us the experience. Like, I'm like,
the experience.
Give us the experience of a that a customer.
We building a relationship.
Wait,
correct?
Hold up. You're also speaking to a person that has a customer service background. So every job that I've had, every 9-to-5 job that I've had, was customer service or sales reps or retail. Okay, so I had to deal with people and learn I wasn't getting whitewashed, but I had to learn proper skills of how to communicate with people, how to make people feel comfortable, how to understand people' energy when they coming in. If they coming in with a different type of energy, how to make them feel comfortable so they have an experience within buying what they want to, so they can buy what they want.
Right.
So I've had experience where I have not had that, and that's by supporting our own. And I'm saying when it comes down to that, let's step the game up.
My brother.
Let's step the game up.
Let's damn it, my brother Self. I'm laughing because I kind of feel like Self kind of feels like, damn, we known each other for too long, brother. Here's another thing too, man. Here's another gem and jewel. Personal situation that kind of happened. And I ain't going, another thing that we need to stop doing as people of color is the whole quid pro quo, where it's just kind of like, oh, you do, so I'll do for you, but you got to do for me first. And real quick situation, I had asked somebody for, I'm working on an album, Spoken Sword. It's mixing spoken word, hip hop together, whole different. I'm trying to drop the spoken word hip hop version of Illmatic, right? Make a long story short. Reached out to somebody. I was like, yo, man, we rock together. We know each other. We know the same people. We come kind of from the same pods. And I had asked somebody, I was like, yo, man, would love to see if there's a beat of yours that I could use. or and it wasn't even on some freebie type, nah. But needless to say, the response was, yo, I don't really kind of like understand, and where were you before when I was dropping things and you weren't supporting back then, and so I feel funny for supporting you. And then I had to take pictures of the first albums that they ever put out, which was like 3 or 4 of them, and I had to send them back pictures on some, I've been supporting you before you were asking for support, but now the relationship is now, there was never no relationship. And this is not, and if this person sees it and they feel a certain way they want to talk, I'm always here. We can talk, we could build. But my thing was,
it's a building relationship. That's the foundation of all of this. Go ahead though, but that's the phrase right there that people need to get. It involves ups and downs.
Right, and that's where it kind of like, so when your response or your immediate knee-jerk reaction is, oh, you ain't do for me, or you're not doing for me, so I can't do for you. Right. But then when you're proven wrong, I never got a response. There was never a sequel to that conversation. It just went flatline. Now I say that to say, us as people of color, we already constantly in the red. We already constantly, whether it be because of what we've been trained to think, what we've been whitewashed to believe, or what it is that we but we always, you think down the lines, man. When you think about Mace, when you think about certain artists, Mace's big situation was getting off of Bad Boy, and the whole thing was he signed because, if I'm not mistaken, Puff brought a Benz or a BMW to his hood and was like, yo, you sign right now, you get this and you get the car, and he got stuck on a deal.
Okay, dope.
Right, he got
like my wife said on the call. My wife said on the call the other day. They keep giving us the okie doke.
Yeah. So and that's the thing. So I say that to say, right, we're constantly trying to get our own, and we're trying to always build, right, as best we can. But we already in the red, especially when we don't have the support we need from our own. So it sucks that when we already know that we in the red, because there's people, I guarantee you right now, I just moved, give or take, we're about to make 2 years. And for me to see now, yeah. Thank you, brother. So for me to see what I see now and know that this was a way of life for many who were just born into it, or people who are just left inheritance and all that. And I'm not hating on people. All I'm saying is, where we come from, you can consider it, damn, you made it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a backyard. Oh, snap.
Right.
That's love.
Right.
So I say that to say, when we come from very little, I could understand the philosophy of I understand why we would take crumbs and say, oh, the crumbs are good enough while you're eating your buffet. We need to stop that mentality, and we need to stop saying, nah, I don't want to accept crumbs. I want to be able, and now if I'm being given crumbs, and my brother's being given crumbs, and he's being given crumbs, and she's being given, let's put our crumbs together, make a whole cake so that we could eat and learn how we could create for our own.
I want to shout out to David. What David just said, focus on people who focus on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got, and David is a perfect example. I can't think of a past podcast that we've had so far that you, brother, I'm talking to you in particular, haven't chimed in. And you are an active role model in the community, and you are doing stuff, and you taking the time to make comments, be involved, and share the comments with people. You get what I'm saying?
Much appreciated.
So he's actually showing it. That's part of the thing we're saying in the cost of not investing as well. When you don't actually invest, put time and effort and see what else have the struggles and figure out what you're better and less good at, it just becomes words. Right. So like I'll give you 2 examples. Oh, and Kyle, before I had a dope comment, I don't know if you could put it back on, but he said people want to be cool more than they want to be communal. That's crazy. So like, for an example, there's a post going around, like we said, we in a constructive criticism. We went from appreciate and debate, and now we want to create now, right? So there's a post going around on Instagram, which is to say, I'm a black man, I support black men, You tag Howard. Now think about what we talked about algorithms and the meanings we get from them. You tag like say 10, 15 people, however many people Instagram, and then it says, if I didn't tag you in this post, don't be offended. This is showing solidarity with black men, and I'm a black man and cool. And then there's a black woman too. I'm a black woman. I support. It's basically saying what we talking about. So it's like, yes, let's get things like that going. Can I say something about it though?
Please do.
Through our
You
era,
sure?
like he said.
You sure? This is Malcolm X. We're at a time where maybe I can say some things that I maybe shouldn't always, but hopefully this is a time where your progress has led to this.
We in 2020 now. We good.
Why are we saying don't be offended if I didn't tag you?
Right.
Because you worried this isn't going to be a cool trend next week. And you don't have a habit of liking and supporting your black people who you know in your community or are related to or kind of know, but they doing something dope and you support them before you go support a celebrity. You haven't made that a habit on a regular basis. And you know Instagram only got 5 people you could tag or 15, whatever. So now you apologizing. Now what we've been talking about with mindset, I'm sorry, I'm yelling, I'm lit right now.
No, please, brother, we gotta be passionate. Gotta be passionate.
We've been talking about these algorithms and the mindset, right? You don't talk about, you don't start apologizing for things when you have a broader goal, right? You don't tell a baby who's learning to walk and they trip on the way over to you, say sorry, baby, you tripped on the, what? That's crazy. You know this baby's gonna walk, swim, jump, leap, fight, fly planes, do things you ain't even get to do in your lifetime if you do your job and they succeed you, right? So why are we on a post talking about I apologize if I left you out? Well, one, don't apologize verbally. Do another post. Matter of fact, do a habit of supporting people on a regular basis, so you ain't got to worry about people being offended because they already know you post their song when they put it out. You post their CMOS. Shout out to Intel Selector. He got CMOS. He's a brother in Connecticut. You know what I'm saying? You post their sneakers, to Rashawn's point. A lot of people coming out with their apparel. It's so many things. If you was doing this on a regular basis, maybe not in your timeline if you're promoting your brand, but on your story, if you're promoting on a regular basis, first of all, you don't have to waste your mindset with going from a PowerPoint to an apology point.
Right. And to build on that, right, and that's what I was saying before, we currently live in an era where you don't have to do nothing outside of less than a foot of your phone. If I put something brand new out, or if my brothers put something brand new out, share that. I'm not even talking about now if you can financially support and buy something that I put out or buy something that my brother put out, or then yes, do that if you can, because if you don't do it, but then you're going to buy somebody who don't know you, who would give 2 damns about who you are, that kind of like makes me question and boggles my mind, because I'm like, damn, you can't support somebody you have shared sandwiches with, or you have shared a walk with, or but you can share for somebody else when their albums are coming out, or when somebody else is dropping something. You sitting there first online to buy the newest sneakers from somebody that don't even care about you. But here's my thing, right? We're living in a time where if I tag anybody, and out of the 50 people I'm tagging, I'm saying, yo, please share this, and you don't share it, dope, it is what it is. If I constantly tag you, it's because I'm trying to share and I'm trying to build with you. When you're not sharing, it kind of makes me feel as if, damn, there's a little envy or a little hate going on. Now, I may be wrong, and here's my thing. Going back to what I was saying. But
the algorithm fuels that. The algorithm fuels that.
Right, and then that's
like
the thing.
You said, we're not talking about finance. Like we said, it's a share, it's a like. Anyone can do that. But one thing the algorithm capitalizes off, say it is a money thing, right? Say I put up a trap. Now, a lot of my people and the people I do shows for purposely and deliberately, they don't have money disposable, what they call disposable income, which means your bills is all paid and you spend money every week, every day on things you want, right? So when I share it, They budgeting. Oh, next week I'm gonna buy Kanye's album. Next week I'm gonna download the self-suffice sticker. You get what I'm saying? The apparel, right? The algorithms is telling you that only the people with disposable income is now supporting you, right? So it's all fueling this narrative of division on us.
Yes,
exactly. And then here's the thing.
Great point.
Go ahead, Rob.
I want to
You might not even see the post for a week based on that.
Right. And you know what? Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
Listen. I love that I just said something.
We lit, y'all.
So I lit this thing up, man. I love that I lit this up.
Brother, and that's why, you know what, man? That's the beauty of it, man. We all are able to build off of us, right? And that's how we should all be. And I'm gonna tell you why right now. So here's the strategic breakdown of how
Amen to David too.
destroy. This is how you destroy the black and brown, right? We're seeing it in gentrification, and I'm gonna break it down to you. People come into your neighborhood, decide that they want to invest or put money into your neighborhood, right? But it's not for you. It's for those they want to move in. So what they'll do is, now stick with me here. This is gems right here. This is straight science. If Self-Suffice is fighting for a tree in his neighborhood that they want to chop down, and Rashaman is fighting for a community center that they want to take and destroy, and I'm fighting for a building that they want to sell out for something else, for real estate, rather than making people live, right? They'll go to Rashaman and say, yo, listen, man, we're going to keep your community center. So all the numbers that you have, all the people, as we all know, strength in numbers, all the people that you have, we need y'all to help us take out Self-Suffice and his people that are fighting for that tree. Because truth of the matter is, what's more important, that tree or this community center? And if you want to fight for the community center, we'll promise you that as long as you help us and do not fight with Self and his tree plight, right? So then once they erase Self-Suffice and his tree people, now they're turning to me and saying, yo, Light, listen, if you really want to keep this building for those who are living here, we're going to need your help, man, because we got to get rid of that community center, man, because we're thinking about expanding the building so we can put more people in it so that you can have more people living in your community. But you don't really need that community center, man. The way that they did the people and that were fighting for that tree, I wouldn't even trust them anyway. So now I'm helping them get rid of the community center. So now we don't have a community center, we don't have the community tree, and now we have my building. Well, damn, here's the thing. They done moved on me already without me knowing, because while they plotting on the community center and the tree, they're trying to figure out a way to get rid of my people. Now they done built the building. We don't have the community center. We don't have the building, nor do we have the tree. Now what happens is gentrification. You no longer have the community. Now that's the sad part. The breakdown of it all is once you divide and conquer, you've conquered enough where you don't never have to divide again, because now you're bringing in your own. Now there's not enough of us to fight. It happened to the Indians. It happened to all the slaves that came from Africa. It's happening to us in our communities. All our communities are being broken down. And I say this to say, and I respect the fact that when you go to the Chinatowns and you go to the Jewish population, populated areas, they fight for theirs, where they put that front line up and they say, nah, you ain't touching none of that. I tell you right now, you're not touching that. And then I've brought this up. I was interviewed. The interview just aired last night, as a matter of fact. It's a show called Black Men Screaming. And I brought this up where when you look at the videos while we're in quarantine and you look at the Orthodox Jews population and their community, when you see 300 of them out there, no mask on, no nothing, cops going over there and talk, hey, can you please think about leaving? But then you see 3 or 4 of my people and run up on them, smacking them up, putting handcuffs, killing them. It's all about the community that you build around you. And when you properly build, when you properly have that constructive ability to say, our people are not getting touched, our front line is not getting touched. And I brought this up during the interview as well. When you look at Warriors, the movie, Warriors was deeper than just gangs going up against each other. Cyrus was bringing all the gangs together and said, yo, we need to unite.
Right.
So I say that to say, my brothers. Right.
And
so that's why I say start.
And that's why they killed him. That's the
he
most
was a threat to the system.
thing.
And we could go the line. We don't even got to talk about fictional characters. We could talk about Tupac. We could talk about Malcolm X. We could talk about the Young Lords. We could talk about Black Panthers. We could talk about all the unified groups that came together that were trying to unify even more on a different level and got destroyed. I say that to say, my people, please do the math and the science behind what you do. So when you say, yo, you ain't never dead for me.
I'm going to give an example right now.
Before you give your example, that taps back into the question earlier that I said, what are we fighting against to achieve the economic and societal success? Is it our people, or is it white supremacy, which is what he just brought up? You know, that holds us back. Even when we have leaders, we have people that we can look up to, we have some that can draw in the hundreds of thousands of people that say, yo, okay, let's come together and do something. Like in the field that may go against the status quo.
Yes.
Now,
and necessarily so.
Is that the real war that we are facing as far as that's what's holding us back to coming together? Or
I think it encompasses all
us still. Like,
I think it's us too.
Absolutely.
I think it's us too. I think it's all of it.
J. Cole was
either way, that war is still
Angie
there,
Martinez.
Right? Are we saying
Angie
that
Martinez.
war is still there? Are we at least saying that war is still there?
Absolutely.
Yes. So we come together first, and then we face that. You know what I'm saying? So we still haven't faced the fact that we all, even with the marching that we doing, we had thousands of people marching in every city around the country throughout these last 2 weeks, right? And I understand everything about it, right? But was it in the fact to literally, was it in line to support all of our own? Was it all to now develop a system for all of our own? Was that the solution? And isn't that the solution that we're talking about, that we all need to be moving towards? Because we've already, for the last hour, we've discussed the cost of not investing.
Okay? You know,
we just discussed all the problems, and we just got turned up even more when it came down to really us supporting.
See, this is why the genius, the ingenuity of the clip you started the whole thing out with Malcolm X was beyond. Like, we could literally just sit and watch that clip over and over and just extrapolate all the answers. Because here was Malcolm. Malcolm was a brother who is like one of the closest things that you would have to a real superhero, standing up to wickedry and evil, intense pressure, bomb threats, guns, and speaking his mind even more in the face of that, right? One of my most powerful scenes was when he got the brothers together and they ran up to the police precinct and just stood outside the window in solidarity. And he walked in and he said, "You'll release this man." The brothers stood out and they did what they had to do. They wasn't being crazy. They was being united and intelligent, right? So this brother, you could say he was an individual. But in the clip Bashaman played for us today, what did he say? He's looking for and believes in a day where Black people will have the sovereignty of their own mind to understand what's in their best interest and not be thinking against themselves and their community's best interest, even though he was already there.
They would be supporting each other more in their best interests.
And part of his downfall was he kind of lost the support of the community that he was representing, right? And that was part of his downfall. He was a community-based person instead of an individualist. But he wanted to be even more of a universal person towards the end of his movement, and in fact, towards the end of his life. And that's what was so threatening to the FBI, we know now from the research and the release, freedom of information and all that, right? So like, one of the things that Light is talking about is he's saying, you got someone from outside your community who's your grand advisor on what to do in your community. And you got to be alert that they're telling you, well, the first thing we need you to do is take care of this other person in your community. That's already 3 red flags. That's already 100 red flags. If that's not already 100 red flags to you already, your mindset is not ready. And I want to give a quick example and then pass it on.
I was going to say that brings me back to the last question.
Exactly. So there was a blackout day on Instagram. Okay, people was all told put out a blackout post. This is solidarity. This is something that I've never seen before. Right? I jumped on a joint. I had seen the one from Gilly, right? Shout out to Gilly in Philly. Shout out to the Dollars Worth of Game podcast. So he had the BLM. So I put Black Lives Matter, BLM. That's something everybody relate. Because I knew if you just see a black screen, you might not even get it, right? So I put that, right? So, and shout out to Power Malu from the LES. You know what I mean? He's an activist out there. Shout out to everybody using the hashtags for activism, right? So I put it out there. I got a message from one of my Instagram friends who I had met, and she was super cool at one of these events I was hosting and performing at, right? So I knew she was cool, but this was like the only message I've ever gotten from her. And the message, this first, we talk about what? Building relationships so you can give constructive criticism. This is a white presenting person addressing the black man, right? Dealing with the Black Lives Matter reality on a daily basis. And the first thing she said, and it was polite too, but she was like, would you mind taking down the hashtags because of algorithms and so forth and such, right? This is dope. This is dope. She's understanding the algorithms. She's advising people. But you can picture that she had learned the thing to do. And now she was going to spend 2 hours hitting up. Like, I'm just assuming. Maybe this isn't. But she got the thing to do. Right? Like someone from outside the community. They get, oh, don't say this word. Say this. Do this with the hashtag. And she was going to now devote her day to that. As opposed to maybe checking in with a brother like, hey, you're a person of color. Why did you do this? What are you doing? What are your suggestions? She got the thing to do, possibly from a black person, and knew that that was the thing. Now you talking to the people of color who you're trying to tell in a white supremacist construct. So now you're a white person telling black people what to do. And then the thing was, I looked at her timeline, and there was no people of color, men or female, on her whole timeline. That means not today, not yesterday, not last week, not for the past few years. There was one black person that was like an illustrated design, and I don't know if it was like a cartoon that one of her students drew or what. But it wasn't clear that she was in pictures with anyone of color, that she had posted a picture of. And the one hip hop artist that was on her timeline, rest in peace, was Mac Miller, a white MC. So it's just like what Light is saying. I'm saying all this to say it's a complex issue. You've got to really understand. It's good to be involved. It's good to be activists, and it's good to have allies. But as a person of color, you have to challenge people outside your community when they come and automatically tell you what to do for your betterment.
Can I play this clip?
You gotta
that
challenge
backs you up? Can I play this clip
Yes.
that backs you up?
Yes, sir.
Same exact interview, same exact clip, just a different part. Are you ready? I laugh because I'm so good at this.
Mr. Lin and saying you'd like to know who his white friends are. Now, I'm wondering if you didn't make a contradictory statement in Muslim terms by using white and friend in the same phrase. That is
I
to
use
say,
friend in quotes.
I see. In other words, if a black man cannot have a white man as a friend.
He may have a white man who's friendly, but being friendly and being a friend, I think, are two different things. I think there are many whites who act friendly toward Negroes. A fox acts friendly toward the lamb. And usually the fox is the one who ends up with the lamb chop on his plate. The wolf doesn't act friendly, and therefore the wolf has more difficulty in getting the lamb chop in his plate.
I'd like to point out, though, that...
And I say that because it is usually, if you study the structure of the Negro community, economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberal, who usually poses as the friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservative in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf. Their appetite is the same. Their motives are the same. It's only their mannerisms and methods that differ.
Woo!
You know, we only got 15 minutes left, right?
You listen, man. We running over time, family. We running over time. Hit that like button because this is how
subscribe,
we gotta
share,
hit you.
all that. Yes. And here's what I'm saying. And we're gonna build on this later on a different topic, right?
Oh yeah.
But I'm just gonna put this out there. Community, right? I believe that there's word and power. I respect words that much. Community is the breakdown of communication and unity. You put communication, unity and unity together, you got community. If we really about our community and we really about our people and support our people, like I was saying, if you don't like my singing or my songwriting or my guitar playing or my drum playing or whatever it is, right? Like I was using that analogy as my part of my community, I should respect, and I would respect more if you told me, yo, I just don't rock with that, or I just don't, or just hit me off with the truth. I don't want to support you because then I could take you out of my community. And I say that, you know, a lot of times we'll see on Facebook and Instagram, yo, I'm doing my summer cleanup. Whoever hasn't responded or hasn't talked, I'm going to take you out my friends list. And it's sad that we have to minimize the importance of community, right? But if that's the case, right, and if like I said, if I've decided to put you part of my community and you're on my supposed friends list, act as a friend. Act as if you're really about my community, because if you're not, let's not even waste each other's time. Because as you see, what Malcolm is talking about is a lot of times the fox will act as friendly as possible only because he's plotting and only because he's trying to get something out of the lamb or the lamb himself. That goes back to the envy. That goes back to this hatred. Sometimes that hatred is self-hatred because you don't know how to deal with yours. So you're hating on those around you that are doing and shining.
Meaning
one of the
that
things
there's
I
no
love.
Specific color.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, this is in general. So one of the things that I love, what I love about self will sit there and say, and I'm telling you this now, brother, you know, now we getting mushy out here. My brother, I love the fact that you will sit there and say, my bro star or my sis star, my, you know, for the most part, you always talk about the alignment of stars.
The constellation effect.
The constellation. When you have that mentality and when you speak
don't have
on
a constellation with one star.
Exactly. And that's the problem, that a lot of times people are kind of afraid of how your star shimmers or shines because it feels like they feel like it's outshining theirs. Let's stop that mentality. Let's actually build a community. So I say that to say, and whoever watches this and rocks out, and if you know, and this is not in any way throwing stars at nobody or shade at nobody. I'm straight up. If you feel like this is about you, just ask me. Yeah, it's all constructive. But you know, if you have questions to ask, or if you on my, you know, you watch this and you on my social media pages, or I know you personally, and if I'm trying to share with you, I'm trying to have you as part of my community, and you're not helping me as I should be helping you at all times, then what are we really doing? You know what I'm saying? Right. If we all sitting or we acting like we all sitting at the same restaurant, none the least, you know, especially if we sitting at the same table, supposedly, if you really rock with me and you really have love for me, support me. If I really rock with you and I really love you, or I have love for you, I'm supporting you, because that's how we build community. There's levels. And as those rungs go up, they're all held by the foundation of the sides of the ladder. And if we don't have that full ladder and rungs, there is no existence of community. So let's stop acting as if we're part of something together and really be about that. And if not, let's just let that be known. So that, and there's no water under the bridge. I won't even take it personal. But if you can't support me and I can't support you, then we're wasting space and time.
Yeah.
Because from that mentality, we can then build our community all together.
See, and that's the thing with the wolf and the fox analogy. Both of those people was out to get the lamb, right? But you could be a fox or some other animal where I'm trying to get something and you're just in the way. Like you just are very distracting and you're in the way. You're not trying to stop me, but there's, and I feel like this is important for this generation. I keep hearing, I didn't do anything wrong. I was just minding my business. I didn't do anything. If you didn't do anything, you're not in my circle. Like I said, I got a constellation of stars. And if you're in my circle, I'm going to point out what you're doing even when you don't know. I'm going to point out what you're doing that's amazing that you don't know. Skills you have that you haven't noticed. But however you come at it, there's no one who's alive who is not doing anything. Don't you know that breathing is one of the most important things you could do for your mental health and being aware of how you breathe? Don't you know that drinking water?
Don't mind it. Do not level down the fact of breathing. Yes, we understand breathing gives life and everything of that nature, but we're talking about the actions of building community here.
Right.
The actions of building community. The fact that you can say the type of person that you are that put in the actions of building community should
as
only
opposed to
trigger,
I'm not doing anything.
Should only trigger the listener, the audience, the person that is also listening that wants to build community to commune with you. You understand? And that's what we are not doing at the most part. I don't look. Like I said, this is a podcast that's not going to get 1 million views. But why does not a celebrity that sees this now go put this on there so it does spread to the masses? Because everything that we have said has done it. Hold on one second. Because
go ahead.
This is going to continue to go on in the same cycle that we can continue to point out, which is that we have these issues that we need to tackle in the midst of building a community that supports their own. We have examples that that Light has pointed out, like with the Jewish community, and that's not to compare. If I'm not mistaken, that's not comparing. That's only just to show you what you should be doing.
And it can't be done. Right.
And I mean, like, at the end of the day, we have to do it in our way. But that's the way to do it. But we got to do it in our way. And these things are not being done. And that's now pointed out. We just have a whole podcast on what needs to be done, what has been talked about already since 1966 and beyond. You know what I'm saying? So what I want from
over
you
half
brothers,
a century.
Exactly. What I want from you brothers right now, instead of saying the negative, okay?
Build on positive.
I want you to tell us the theory that I brought up the question about that sparked this whole thing up. What will it look like when we all support our own? Now, does that mean, do we have like a black advisory group? Take it away.
You mentioned 100 years ago, Black Wall Street, right? And our sister Asada, who we'll probably talk about in the next episode when we talk about like actual financial strategies and whatnot. She wrote a book about Black people and cryptocurrency in particular, right? But she talked about the history of all these examples like Black Wall Street and on of Black people supporting each other and what it has looked like, right? But one thing to just get out the way is just understanding if you receive criticism with construction, that's part of community. Right. Being like, hey, did you see my post? Could you like it? On both sides, both me having to ask you to do that and you having to hear me say that. And I only say having because that's our first hurdle. People think that's an issue. It's a benefit. Yo, Light, you got a new track up? Yeah, Kai had it up for 4 weeks. Oh, damn, I didn't get it through the algorithm. That's an expected conversation when you're building community. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm gonna
yo, could you buy my sandals? Damn, I didn't want to ask to buy the sandals. Like, that's what we do. That's the first hurdle, knowing it's constant communication.
And
it
stop
doesn't
doing
make
it for
you
the
bad.
sense of the benefit.
With
Right, it doesn't. With our own. And then on top of that too, stop doing things for the benefit that you see or the gain that you feel that you get. And I'm gonna answer your question, Ra, right? Because I know we cutting on time real hard right now, but I'm gonna answer your question by an example and a shout out. Shout out to my man XL, man, Ty from the Lower East Side, who 3 times now, but 2 times I was a part of. He had made this LES roll call. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know much about the very first one. I was part of this cycle of the roll call and then the second cycle. And what he did was he took everybody from the Lower East Side, right, from different areas. Now, the Lower East Side is broken between different sections. The Ave, the Hill, the so on and so forth. So there is small Lower East Side, you know, that it is compared to other spots. We always had problems with each other, right? Beef with each other. And even me coming from one area, I could have beef with somebody that lives right across the street. But what he did was, as a leader, as a community leader that he is, shout out to my man Ty XL, he took everybody from the Lower East Side and brought them together on the track. Everybody had no more than 4 bars, but the unity that you see on there, right? And there may have been people on those tracks that I had problems with, or their peoples that I had problems with, or my people had problems with their people. And when you build that type of community within destruction or within any type of turmoil, that right there, right? So I say, and I answer your question by saying, that's what that looks like. When we support each other, even through the worst of the worst, and saying, yo, I used to have problems with his people, or my people used to have, we come together and we show strength. We show unification. We show front line. So the dope thing is being able to celebrate that together as a people. And I can't tell you how proud I am when I see people and they doing what they doing, and I share, and I may not necessarily agree with what they doing, or I may not, but if it doesn't in any way destroy any of who I am, I'm going to support you because I want to see you. I want to see you eat. I want to see you win. And for you not to want to see that from everybody around you that looks like you, then there's no need to even communicate. There's no need for us to associate with ourselves and act as if we are something we're not, right? Because then what you're doing is you're clowning yourself. And all I can say is the more clowns we have, the bigger the circus. So with all that being said, to answer your question, Rashaman, that's what unity looks like, man. That's what us supporting each other. That's what supporting each other look like, man. This is why we create this platform, man. This is why we create this platform, to build together, man.
For this last hour and a half, we definitely touched on a lot of the issues that need to be corrected, and we were critical, and it was constructive criticism. Issues that need to be corrected.
Oh, my fault, Rob. Not to cut you off. By the way, and it's funny, I just seen it on the camera. I'm wearing the 11th Plague shirt. And this is what Ty XL, you know what I mean? He created this for the video so we could all be in unison. So you from the Hill, you from the Ave, you from Baruch, wherever you from, you wearing this shirt together in the video. So when you watch the video, you go to YouTube, you see the LES roll call. There may be people, there may be a person, and this is not, but somebody that I may have spit after, or somebody who spit before me, or whatever it is, or I spit before, we may not even get along with each other. But there was a video and there was a track that was made, and the beauty of seeing that together, and this is the one flag.
It goes beyond the words. Exactly. Even on a rap song, it goes beyond the words. You're visually seeing people do something regardless of what they're saying.
Right. So my fault, Ryan. I didn't want to cut you off, man. But there's the 11th Plague, man, and he made these shirts for that. Like, it was just awesome. Yo, you know what, man? I'm tired of the negativity. Let's bring it all together. Positivity. Everybody get 4 bars. We come together on one track. So, Ryan,
and look,
your questions is what's bringing us towards that, brother. So thank you for that too, brother.
Appreciate it. Appreciate that. And you know what? We're gonna
This
end
is
with
what it
this.
looks like.
We're gonna end with this. I got another part of the video of Malcolm X speaking.
Okay.
And I didn't get to listen to the whole thing, but we about to listen to it together. And he talks about planting a seed. And I think that's exactly what we did tonight was plant a seed of the things that can be worked on so we can come together closer as a community.
100%.
You put a seed in the soil, it remains beneath the soil until the season changes. And when the season changes, the seasonal change automatically brings about rather atmospheric conditions, bring about a seasonal change that makes that seed come up or crop grow in its appointed time. And all over this world today, God himself has brought about political changes, a political atmosphere, sociological, social atmosphere, economic atmosphere. These economic conditions, these political conditions and social conditions combine to bring about a situation that is making black people in America more receptive, their mind more fertile to the seed of truth that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been planting for 30-some years. And this is springing up today and causing our people to see and understand now what they couldn't see and understand before.
What is the nature?
Deep.
A seed is an investment. There's no better metaphor for an investment than a seed.
Right.
A seed
Thank
is
you, Mother
an investment.
Nature.
And you know what? All we can do is continue to plant seeds. Those who are not planting seeds are not growing.
Right.
Okay? Or not leaving anything to grow.
In other words,
There's
stop
a
leeching.
story. There's
Stop
a story
leeching.
about.
If you ain't building, if you ain't growing, then you leeching.
There's a story about the brother that
You
broke
ain't
the
building,
4-minute
you
mile.
destroying.
Right.
The scientists said it was impossible. The anatomy of humans was impossible. It couldn't be done. You'd hurt yourself if you attempted it. This brother broke the 4-minute mile. Suddenly, all over the world, people started breaking the 4-minute mile. Right? There's a seasonal pattern, as Brother Malcolm was just saying. The black bamboo is growing under the earth for 6-8 years. And then finally, in that 8th year, boom, it sprouts out, and all the ones around it sprout up automatically. The cost of not investing in yourself is that you don't even realize all those people who aren't investing in you was just sometimes waiting for you because they had low self-esteem themselves. It wasn't even about hating on you. They was waiting for you to symbolize the season.
Can I also say the cost of not investing in yourself is not seeing that this revolution, this awakening that he just spoke of in the beginning, of how he sees that there is going to be an awakening, which is already happening because he was a part of that awakening. That's why he gained the knowledge and the wisdom he gained. It continued to grow beyond the ones who seek this awakening. And we are a part of those seeds. Yes, the movements, the protests, the message has begun to reach more people. You know, that means the seed is growing. And we are witnessing that. You know, we
Yo, your microphone sounds so crispy, bro. I want to tell everybody on the podcast, first of all, listen to his voice and look at his microphone. He invested in a microphone. He's talking to you from a studio. Now, me and Brother Light are not yet there, but believe me, every time he invests and says a syllable and it comes across crispy, we realize the cost of not investing But on the flip side, right? Because Rasham was saying, what can we do? Because he's doing that, he's showing and proving an example. If he didn't show that, we would have no reference. But the more we hear his voice on that, we're like, oh, that's what a quality microphone does. I get it. This brother David, right? David Heredia, he's on these podcasts, he's posting in the comments and so forth. What is it again?
Heredia, David Heredia.
Heredia, my bad. Heredia. When David Heredia be posting up, we go and look at his stuff and we see him shining and we like his stuff, right? But when I see him commenting, I know it's not like from somebody who's not doing anything from themselves. It makes me feel better about what I'm doing, getting a salute from somebody who's doing. Shout out to my brother Mez. Mez be, checking on my stories. Actually, so many brothers I know that's doing something for themselves. And when they take the time to check in on me and salute me, it means more to me knowing that they're doing their thing. It doesn't make me jealous or make me want them not to succeed. It's more of an investment in me and a salute to me when I see you doing your thing.
And it only makes a person that is doing their thing, like hearing that compliment, only says, yes, I'm going to invest more. And, and that's one thing that I want to say, wrapping it up, that's what...
That's final thoughts, brother.
That's what we brought to this podcast tonight, was to point out the cost of not investing.
Not investing in yourself.
Meaning that we pointed out what's not being done. And it just showed. We hit a lot of points, and I hope you took a lot of points in what we need to. I hope those points put those ideas in your head.
Those seeds.
How to move forward. You know what I mean? Those seeds in your head. Planted those seeds in your head to how to move forward. You know what I mean? Because we continuing it right here on SoundMinds Sunday, man. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and make sure you share.
Peace to the constellation. And for the seeds, peace to the garden.
Right. And for every one person, share to your 10 friends, tell their 10 to share the 10. Please, we are here for a reason, and we are trying to enlighten, plant those seeds, empower. Now more than ever, we are dealing with quarantine. We are dealing with death of people. We are dealing with high-powered protests. Treat your people better, y'all. Treat us better. Treat people that look like you and come from your struggle and know your struggle. Treat them better. Support. It's that simple. Whether it be financially, whether it be with a sound word and just checking up on somebody like Self was talking about, just check up on a person. Man, yo, is there anything I could do for you? Is there anything that I could help you with? Is there anything do you need me to be a shoulder or ear? That's support, y'all. We're not always talking about financial. And I'm not always talking about sharing. I'm talking about you being present. That's support. Right. And once you provide that type of support, then only then can we build the proper community for us, for what we look like, for what our struggles are. Right? Stop begging other people. Let's stop begging others to let us in. Let's break through and create our own community, y'all. Support. Thank you all. I am Real LiteSkin, RealLiteskin, 123 on IG. These are my brothers, man, and I love breaking bread.
Yo, what's the name of your new track, real quick, that people can check out?
New track is coming out. It should be dropping on Tuesday, the 9th, and it's called Over the Influence. And actually, Over the Influence, for you hip-hop heads, you're going to love this one. It's an ode to a lot of people that inspired me. So here we are. We building, y'all. We building, and we want to build with you. We want y'all to support us so we can support y'all, and we have a supporter community. So Over the Influence is the name of the track, man. Thank you, Self, for reminding me. My brothers, the platform is yours.
SoundMinds. Rashaman, what's your track of the week and your closing words?
Oh, man. So I don't have a track of the week, but I would say my closing words would definitely be...
Oh, no.
Hold on, let me go. I might think of one.
What is your network? That is your network.
So
what's the name of that track?
Okay, there you go.
What's the name of that track?
See, I could have thought about that as I was talking. Love is
Trust
law.
me, y'all. This track is perfect for this topic. It's literally called What Is Your Net? I'm sorry, what is the track called again?
It's called Love Is Law, Family Is Business.
Love is Law, Family is Business. And it literally says, what is your net worth? That is your network. Talk about the cost of not investing in yourself and it not having to be financial right there. Please go check that track on those
Your net worth is your network is your net worth. Okay? That's how you say it. What is your net worth? That is your network. You feel me? So
but I'm sorry, what were you saying to close it off, bro?
To close it off, I mean, just even going off of that song, you know, I mean, who you round and who we surround ourselves with, which we are trying to support our own, trying to be around our own, right? Our own people. We trying to come up out of the system that we know and has proven to oppress us and continue to show that that there is history shown on this. Okay, if we are parts of that growth in those seeds that have been planted. Okay, it is time for us to support those who show that. Just like Light was saying, even if it's your brother that you grew up with, if he is on his path of seeking this knowledge and now posting this knowledge and you may not understand it as much, support at the same time, because that means that you can learn from him now. Don't be afraid to learn from your little brothers. Don't be afraid to learn from your nephews. Don't be afraid to learn from the younger generation, because they are posting things that you may not be aware of or you've already dismissed in your previous years. It is time to revisit things, research things. And then on top of that, like we said, support each other through the knowledge, okay? Wisdom and understanding. You know what I mean? The seeds are being planted. This episode is a seed that has been planted. And that is what we have accomplished tonight. And I want to say SoundMinds to that.
Yes, sir.
And to those of you who, you know, we not the originators of planting you seeds and stuff. This is metaphorical talk. But if you want to stretch the metaphor, if you know you already a star, you know you already have the truth, you know that you already have the seed in your mental garden, then you are just being around other stars, right? It doesn't mean you gotta not be around us because we'll take credit. Nah, we know you a star already. We know you got the truth already. But supporting other people who also do that, it's more likely if you're in a garden that these seeds are going to be nurtured in the garden. It's more likely if you recognize that you're in a constellation, you're more likely for people to understand and identify the stars of that constellation.
Right.
Versus you trying to be a seed in a crack in the sidewalk where we don't belong. To our credit that we survive in all these environments, you're not supposed to be a beautiful rose growing through a crack in the concrete. You know, get to the garden. You're not supposed to be a star supporting this tiny little solar system or whatever. You're supposed to be shining in a bright galaxy of constellations where you recognize and can speak your language and people appreciate you. I wanna say Hassan Minaj's video to Asian and Muslim people in this time of protest is very crucial and important for our brothers and sisters who are Asian and Muslim. James Corden's video on white privilege is very important for our brothers and sisters of the white persuasion, identifying and presenting as white. We're not solitary stars. We're not solitary seeds. The cost of not investing in yourself is you start to realize you don't start to realize. I apologize. I'm sad this is ending, but we're going to talk about it more. I'm just feeling sad, y'all. Pardon me. You don't ever realize when you don't invest in yourself that most of the hate that you think you're getting from people is actually not hate. It's disconnection from other people just like you who aren't investing in themselves and therefore they're not spreading the branches of their seeds to reach out to you. The more you invest in yourself, the more you reach out and empower others and realize they wanted to reach out to you too. That's too high a price to pay, to feel hate from people that don't even hate you.
SoundMinds.
I'm out. My track is the anthem. Shout to ZQ, Crazy Beat by ZQ Zaquan. You know, SoundMinds, wherever you are, brother. And McCallum, you know what I'm saying? Crazy Beat, the anthem, you know, and it's about unity.
And we're going to see y'all next Sunday on SoundMinds Sunday. Peace.
7 p.m.
Yes.